It's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Kaitlyn Daly. And we're going to be discussing her incredible book, In the Blink of an Eye, a story of resilience and survival. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places, man, but most importantly, check out KaitlynDaly.com. There you're going to gather more information on her, on this book, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages, man, I'm telling you. A one-stop shop for it all. Again, that's KaitlynDaly.com. And I quickly want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Kaitlyn was brought to us by Book Rights House. So for writers out there listening in who have gone through their process and now you find yourself between a rock and a hard place because you've written this book and you need assistance now moving it. Well, head on over to bookrightshouse-us.com and gather all the ways that their team is more than equipped to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Kaitlyn on the line. The moment you start to do research on her memoir, you're going to understand how inspirational this book really is. Like, if you've ever felt completely alone in your pain, utterly lost in the aftermath of something unthinkable, well, you're going to want to stay with us, okay? Because that is really where this book came from, right? Kaitlyn wrote the book that she desperately needed, but she couldn't find. And after surviving a devastating collision, this book is going to be part memoir, part lifeline, part hand reaching out in the dark. And I really do mean that. Like, this is so much more than platitudes. It's going to formulate a bridge. And I personally, I say this a lot, I love having authors on the network that have written memoirs because it's so beneficial. You're going to hear Kaitlyn talk today, and you're going to hear certain things about her story that may have nothing to do with you and your journey. But when you read in between the lines, you're going to be like, that is exactly what I needed to hear. That is exactly the words of wisdom that I was struggling to find. And because of that, man, the book is remarkably powerful. Sit back, strap in, and let's get ready. Kaitlyn, first and foremost, welcome to the network, and thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's quite the intro. I appreciate that.
Well, listen, your book is quite the book. Kaitlyn, I followed your lead. You put forth an incredible roadmap, and I really do mean it. Like, joking aside, your book is something that is incredibly personal to you, but I think deeply beneficial for every reader that picks it up. And I believe a part of you must have known that, right? Like, you didn't go into this wanting to completely be self-serving. I think, and everything that we do, and this is just human nature, like, there is a part of us that with everything, we want some recognition. But your book being something that is so personal, it takes bravery to construct that window and allow others to see in. And I have to assume that you recognized how powerful it could be for others. And that was a driving force. And we're going to get to that. Let's start at the foundation and learn more about the book, In the Blink of an Eye. Tell us more about it.
So, In the Blink of an Eye is my story of in 2019, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident one morning coming home from the gym. And the cause of that accident was due to teenagers breaking the law and actively running from the police. To give just a short part of it, because it's very long, they then fled my scene on foot, and I was trapped into the car where it took almost an hour for the paramedics and firemen to get me out and start working on me so they could get me to the hospital. I had a total of 7 surgeries, multiple procedures. I had to learn to walk and talk again. And the one thing that I didn't have, like, I had all my doctors and staff, they were all fantastic. And they can kind of tell me what could happen, what couldn't, just based on other patients that they've seen, but nobody really knew what I was going through. So that was the driving force for me to write the book.
My follow-up question is something that I know we've all struggled with from time to time. And I want to ask specifically from your experience, but again, there's going to be wisdom when we read in between the lines. Like, we've all come across someone in a certain situation where we want to offer helpful words and we want to encourage them. But sometimes because we don't know exactly what to say, it can come across like pity. It can come across just unhelpful. And there's a full gamut of things, right? Well, I'm curious, like, we'll make it specific to you. So it's not one size fits all, but people will be able to kind of pick and mold it to fit their circumstances. But like, what was the most surprisingly unhelpful thing that a very well-meaning person said or maybe even did during your recovery? And I guess now in hindsight, what should they have said that actually may have helped?
So, like, two things come into play in my head. So, I have a very large scar on my stomach from the multiple surgeries I've had. And at that time, I lived in Florida. It is swim season year round.
Yeah.
And I always wore two pieces. And for the longest time, I still did after the accident. I was at one of my doctor's appointments and he meant nothing by it. And I didn't put him on the spot because he was just, we were doing an exam and he was like, oh, well, it's okay. That's why they make one pieces. And again, he meant nothing by it. But to me, it's, I shouldn't
Yeah,
have to
of
hide my
course.
scar
Yeah.
because of other people. And it's just stuff like that that you wouldn't understand. Like he was just trying to show like a different perspective. And
Right.
the biggest thing I think that I noticed in recovery, and still to this day, I tend not to correct most people because I don't want them to feel bad, is the saying, I'm sorry. You get told that so much that it's number one, people say it just because obviously you're taught to, I'm sorry when something bad happens to you, or when they don't know what to say, which my story obviously was grand, and a lot of people just didn't know what to say.
Mm.
Still, like my boyfriend, he'll just say, I'm sorry you're not feeling good. I'm like, I don't need I'm sorry. Like, because it's not his fault, it's no one's fault. So
Yes.
just hearing that I'm sorry, I'll let people just say it and I don't correct them. But people, when they've gone through stuff, they've heard it so many times, it's kind of deafening on the ears. So
Mm.
usually when people will say something to me, I'll kind of respond with not an ordinary thing. Like I'll be like, well, that sucks, or like something like that. And most of them will laugh because you're like, oh, it's something different than I'm sorry. And it's just things like that I would never have noticed unless I went through something.
I think that's a great point to bring up. And as I mentioned, Kaitlyn, it's something that we all do, right? Like,
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit it. Like, I'm a notoriously apologetic person. Like, I've done that so many times. I've had that conversation with so many people. Like, I'll say it and they're like, well, why are you saying sorry? It's not your fault. You
Right,
didn't do it.
exactly. And it's just habit.
It's just habit. And until you're actually on the other side of it and you're receiving all of that in the back of your mind, is like, this just doesn't help. Then you start to really, it clicks, right? And it becomes a little bit more, it raises your awareness a little bit more. That's just one notion, man. The book is going to raise your awareness to so much. Remember, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's KaitlynDaly.com. It's called In the Blink of an Eye, and you're going to want to purchase your copies today. Get the conversation started, man. This is going to be something that I truly feel is going to help shift perceptions, because already within the discussion that we're currently having, we're already starting to view things differently. Again, it's only going to increase from there. My follow-up now, Kaitlyn, I want to talk about the unsung hero in your journey. I'm sure when the readers pick up the book, they're going to learn about all of the different people along your journey that have helped in many different ways. But let's take an opportunity and let's pay it forward. Let's give some shout outs here. I'm curious, can you share a person, whether it was a nurse, a physical therapist, or even a complete stranger who maybe did something or said something that has stuck with you, that has really been a guiding force maybe throughout your journey?
So I can't remember exactly who said it, but it was somewhere in the beginning of my recovery when I still have a lot of gray areas in that because of the head injury. Someone had said something along the lines of you determine what happens next. You obviously you have all these injuries and like stuff will happen, but you determine your next chapter. Don't let the accident define you.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing because You tend, and I'm still very bad at this, I tend to divide it into pre-accident and post-accident.
Mm.
And for me, it's kind of like just getting a timeline of the things. But when you do that, you're kind of like separating yourself. And I'm very much a different person, but in a lot of good ways different because I've gained perspective. I've gained stuff that most people don't understand because they haven't been through it. So it's just like little things like that, and I'll put them in my book, like little sayings. You determine this was one chapter in your book,
Hmm.
make the next one better with whatever motivation you have for your healing.
Kaitlyn, listen, a great segue to my next question, because I think you're hitting on something that is so, again, we're talking about your story, so it's deeply personal to you, but my goodness, is it universal to the story of recovery that we all experience? Because the one thing that I feel is not discussed nearly enough, or maybe it's just not discussed with me, is like when we go through something traumatic like that, so often in our recovery, we're trying to get back to the person we were. And that just isn't, it's not possible, right? Just from life in general, like we always want to try to be a better person today than we were yesterday, right? Always trying to make those incremental changes to better ourselves, but especially when it comes to a traumatic experience like this, like you're trying to get back to a semblance of who you were, yet who you were has gone through such a transformative experience. So I want to now try to move there next, and it's a loaded question. Take your time, or we can simply scratch it as well. When you look in the mirror today, who do you see? Like, has the author who wrote this book, has she integrated the woman from before, the victim of the during phase, like the journey to recovery, or the survivor of the after? Like, talk to us a little bit more about who is the Kaitlyn Daly of today that you see when you look in the mirror.
So with trauma, whatever the trauma is, and it took me years to, I guess you have to grieve your old self because you do. You hope
Yeah,
that you're just gonna bounce. It's not like breaking one leg and you're just gonna bounce back.
of
It's a
course.
whole cascade of mental versus physical versus everything on top. So you do grieve your old self. And once you kind of come to terms with the old self is not, your new self is just different, you can kind of start moving forward. So when I look in the mirror, like I have some physical stuff that I can, like I have a scar on my left cheek from the airbag. So there's obviously things I can just see right off the bat. And when I look at pictures, that's usually my first thing. If I see my face and I don't have the scar, I'm like, all right, it was before 2019, or oh, it was after 2019. I miss some old things that I can't do anymore, but as an overall, I just think I'm so much more well-rounded from the things I've been through.
Of course.
I personally, even though by definition I am a victim, I personally don't like that term. I think it's because people just kind of associate it with being weak when by no means is that what it is. I tend to use the term survivor. And when talking to other trauma
Mm.
victims, regardless of their trauma, everyone has their own opinion. Some don't mind victims, some would rather have survivor. And so I personally don't give myself as much credit as other people do because I just say it was something I had to do. I had a daughter. There was no option not to get back to her. And that was just my sole focus. So when I look in the mirror and if I'm having a bad day, because I still have issues from the head injury, I just try to put myself back to when it was the worst, which was right after the accident. And I just say, I'm not there. I'm getting better. And I just kind of day by day, some days I do better with it. Other days I still have my breakdown days. It's always an evolving process.
People, listen, man, I said this when we first started, like, this is an inspirational memoir, and I'm ending saying the exact same thing. And trust and believe, like, we've barely scratched the surface today. There is so much left on the pages, and personally, I like it that way, because now the onus is on you. This is one that you need to add to your shelf. I'm going to say it once again. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's KaitlynDaly.com. In the blink of an eye is available now. But the title of her book, man, it reminds us, or at least reminds me, of how suddenly everything can change. And yes, it can change for the worse, but it also can change for the better, right? Like there's an opposite side to that coin. And if there's one thing that I'm carrying with me from this conversation, it's that the after can hold more than just pain. There is a process to it. And I know that it's easier said than done. Believe me, I get that. but like the after can also hold purpose and connection and a hope that you build with your own two hands, right? And you recover. And like we mentioned, like you're searching for that person who you were before, yet you've grown, you've changed. So that person is not there anymore, but a better version can be. And this book is the precipice to helping you realize that. So head on over, purchase your copies today, start conversations with those around you, and let's move some mountains, man, because this book has the opportunity to do just that. Kaitlyn, this has been a phenomenal discussion. Keep up the fantastic work. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me.